Started. Uh, Hello guys. Today we have the Sayanta Sen, the cyber security expert, and currently working in HoneyWell as an pen tester, and he's the SCAPGI alumni. Uh, Give me a brief introduction to your profession and career.
Yeah, so I work at HoneyWell. I have exactly 3 years of experience now, and my designation in HoneyWell currently is a cybersecurity engineer slash architect. So I'm involved in the product security testing of about 150 products of HoneyWell, mostly involved in the IoT world, and my expertise mostly in cloud security and DevSecOps and application security as usual. And I sometimes do a little bit of reverse engineering here and there as I go. That's pretty
Uh,
much.
that's very much interesting. And
Yeah.
so basically, I have a question like, why do you choose the cybersecurity as your primary track? Like, there are a lot of technologies. So, how did
Yeah.
you get motivated in this cybersecurity as your primary career and go with it?
Right. So the thing is, when you talk about the IT world in general, something we must all understand is that the people working in cybersecurity, they're considered the cream layer of IT. So in order to become a cybersecurity expert, you need to know about almost anything and everything that is used in IT. So be it SAP, be it different operating systems, be it networking, be it programming, doesn't matter. Be it DevOps, you need to know every single thing under the sun in order to be able to do your work. So I always wanted to be the best at what I do. So I realized that if you want to be the best at what you do, you should choose the cybersecurity. That's the way of becoming the cream. So that's how I got interested into this, and um, it goes back a long time back. I mean, that back then I was probably in 10th or 12th when I started hearing things about how the hacker culture works, how um, uh, this how do I say this? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so that I got interested a long time back, and I started learning on my own. But then back then I didn't even have an internet connection, so it was very hard for me to like keep myself updated, learn new things. It was very I mean, information was very hard to come by.
yeah,
So
yeah.
as time moved on, I got better resources and I learned slowly based on that.
Uh,
But yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Yeah.
Okay, so like you don't have the internet connection, so how did you get managed in those days? Like
So
you're
I wouldn't
working.
say I didn't have an internet connection. I mean, I did get one, but it was a like a dial-up
Very
connection back then. Yeah, it was a very the situation was very bad, but yeah, I had to make do with a lot of stuff. Yeah.
wow. So like apart from the cybersecurity, which like data structure algorithms, and there are a lot of computer science subjects. So
Yep.
which one you got most interested?
So if you talk about like things that are taught in our college curriculum, then there's not much that I found really interesting. I think probably a handful of things. I was really good at data structure because I had been learning data structures previously before college. It was part of our ISC curriculum, so I already knew how to create data structures. I mean, how to write code to create data structures. So and then uh, there was one more thing which was microprocessors. So I was really interested in microprocessors. I learned x86. So our curriculum taught us 8085, but then I learned 8086 by myself, and then I learned x86 and x64 by myself.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really amazing that
Yep.
you learned so much by your own. focused on
So
what you.
this is I feel that's like the hallmark of a cybersecurity guy is that you must be prepared to. I mean, you always have to understand that nobody is going to be teaching you stuff. I mean, you must realize that a lot of the people who are working in cybersecurity are self-taught. They have learned things by their own drive, and until and unless you are ready to accept that and I mean build on that, you're not going to become a very successful person in cybersecurity. So that's one of the hallmarks of that. So I understood that a long time ahead. So that's why I started learning by myself from a very early age.
Okay, that's great. And
Yeah.
I think after learning that much of things, so when you got your first eureka moment, when you got the first bug or vulnerability and report it to a company.
Okay, so there's this network monitoring tool called Wireshark. So Wireshark is used extensively in both in cybersecurity and in other areas of IT as well. Where if you want to monitor traffic, if you want to see what are the packets coming and going between your machine and another machine, you set up Wireshark and you can monitor the packets that way. So what I did was basically um, I performed something called a fuzz testing. So I first tested Wireshark using AFL fuzz, and I had help from my mentor as well. And I came up with a 0-day vulnerability where it was possible to perform like a buffer overflow attack on the heap overflow attack on the Wireshark listening driver. So that I reported the 0-day vulnerability to Wireshark itself, and I got a CVID against that. Yeah. So
like
this was back
like
in, yeah.
like a hall of fame.
You can call it similar to a Hall of Fame, but since 0-day vulnerabilities as such, like memory corruption vulnerabilities, don't often get Hall of Fames because they are very rare to come by. Like very few people do these. I won't say very few people do these, but I mean, it's not as extensive as application bug bounty as like HackerOne or BugCrowd. So yeah, you can say it's kind of a Hall of Fame. Yeah, and I got the CVID as well. So yeah,
Because you do it your own and it is your first
yep,
uh,
yep.
so
And it was when I was working back in E&Y. It was back in 2018. It's been more than 2 years now.
now can you share some of your job interview experience? So
Job interview experience. Like, do you have a specific question about that?
no, like anything, like if how you got into the Honeywell, and that will
Okay.
work.
So before Honeywell, I used to work for an organization called Paya2 Technologies or Paya2 Software Labs. And Paya2 Software Labs is one of the most renowned cybersecurity firms in India. So they are a service-based company. They offer cybersecurity as a service, uh, pen testing, consulting, all of that. So I used to work there, and probably Paya2 interview was at least two times as more difficult as Honeywell interview. Because Paya2 is a company which only takes people who really know stuff, who know their shit. So the Paya2 interview was much more difficult than Honeywell. Once when I was coming out of Paya2 and into Honeywell, that stamp that I had of Paya2 on my CV, that kind of pushed my CV directly to the team lead of Honeywell. So it's not like, so typically what would happen is if you are trying to apply at Honeywell, you would go through two to three rounds of technical interview and then probably another management interview. But since I had the Paya2 stamp, my profile went directly to the team lead. I was interviewed by the team lead and I was accepted. So that went pretty smoothly. That wasn't like not a big deal. A much more difficult interview I had to give when I was joining Paya2 rather than Honeywell, because at Paya2 I had to give like three rounds of interview, one more difficult than the other, and I was asked questions. Uh, I mean, at Pi 2, I was asked questions, stuff that was like cancer. Like I have never even heard of things like that. So that's the kind of questions they asked. I think that was much more difficult than HoneyWell.
Okay, so what you like? What you give a feedback on the interview? Like our viewers go to a company and give an interview. So what, like
See,
what?
the thing is I can give you I can share my story, like how I gave interviews in companies. But the thing is, no two companies perform interview in the same way, right?
Yeah,
The kind of information that I will share, I mean, my experience that I will share with you might not fit well with other companies. And one more thing that people uh, are not aware of is that when it comes to cybersecurity, it's not the same as I mean, the interviews are not similar to the rest of the industry.
yeah, yeah,
Because when it comes to cybersecurity, a lot of the times you will, instead of asking being asked a question, they will give you an IP address and they will say, "Ki, there's a flag sitting inside that server. You have to break into the server and capture the flag and show us that you have found it." So there's instead of a like a technical one-on-one, there oftentimes there is a practical I mean task that you have to complete that's involved. So I once interviewed for this company called Revolut in London during this lockdown. So Revolut's process of interview was absolutely different from any Indian company that I had interviewed. So what happened in Revolut was that they gave me a virtual machine and they asked me that the virtual machine has a flag embedded in it. So your task is to break into the virtual machine, get root access, capture the flag, and show us that flag that you have got it. So I did that. I captured the flag. I showed them, and then the second round of interview was more of a secure architecture kind of a job. I mean, task where they gave me this system and they asked me to design security. I mean, create a secure
yeah.
architecture for
Workflow.
the application. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
So that's why
interesting.
that's what I'm trying to say. It's I mean I can share these data with you, but I don't think if you are going for a mass recruiter like IBM or Wipro or TCS, you are going to face any interview similar to that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
They are kind.
in the field of cybersecurity, the entire game changes. You I mean the process changes, the methodology changes. There's nothing, absolutely nothing similar to how it is done in cyber than the other organizations. Yeah.
Yeah, their process of taking interview is totally different from our
Yep.
traditional programming,
Yeah.
where the main thing.
You won't be asked questions like can you tell me what is a linked list, or can you like draw a circular linked list for me? Nothing of the sort. It's like absolutely there is no such concept of a theoretical question. There's very little theoretical question, and there's just a lot of uh, because you know what the problem is. The problem is that when you're working in cybersecurity, you are in charge of security of data for a lot of customers. And when I say a lot of customers, the number goes into hundreds of thousands, maybe million customers. So when you are handling sensitive data of a million customer, you have to be very good at your job so that the company can actually trust your decisions and make their business decisions based on what you tell them. So yeah, that's a lot of responsibility. So that's why
Yeah,
they don't mess around with that. They only pick people there that are absolutely best.
because data is the currency of today's modern age.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Yeah, like
people can go to. I have seen people going to extreme lengths to acquire sensitive data. So the threat, I mean, the kind of threat we are working against, that threat is very real. It's not like we are working against an imaginary attacker or an imaginary hacker who might or might not come and attack. That entire concept is wrong. You are working against a very real threat. You are working against people that are working 24/7 to break into your system. So you have to be one step ahead of those guys. So
like
it's So it always keeps you on your toes. It always keeps you absolutely like uh, on the edge. Yeah, that's how I would say. Yeah.
Like you have to always alerted and
uh,
defended.
Pretty much that. Yes, yes.
Okay, in my college, like
Yeah,
I saw many
in
like
our
they,
college.
yeah, in our college I saw many students like they don't have much programming knowledge. So can they
Yeah.
opt in the cybersecurity?
So there are two aspects to it. One thing that I would like to reiterate, that I keep telling other people as well. It's not necessary that you have to be very good at programming in order to work in an IT world. If you are good at programming, that's obviously an advantage. But if you're not as good as in programming, it's not like the end of the world for you. There are certain things in IT that you can do even if you are like not a fan of writing code. You know, so there's culture in IT that we call DevSecOps. So it's Dev is for development, Sec is for security, and Ops is for operations. So in a product based company like companies who produce new software, there are certain teams working. You have the developer team who are writing code. You have the operations team who are managing the logs and taking care of day-to-day operations. And you have the engineering team, the system engineering team, who are taking care of the entire IT infrastructure where the code will be hosted. So what DevSecOps does is it merges these three things and security into a culture. So if you're somebody who is working in a DevOps or a DevSecOps role, it's not necessary that you have to know how to write code, because most of the time you'll be dealing with pretty simple commands and scripts that are enough to get the job done. So it's not like you need to write complex loops or recursion or whatever. That nothing, none of not of nothing of that sort is required. So no data structure, nothing required. So if you are aware of how to navigate around the Linux terminal, or if you know how to work on AWS cloud, you can make a DevOps career out of it. That's like pretty easy. So
So
people who are scared of learning, I mean, scared of programming, people who feel that it's intimidating, they are not good at it, they should probably look into DevOps and DevSecOps.
wow, that's a great
Yeah,
option. So
yeah.
in cybersecurity, we need to make these things simple, like keep it simple, and you will go more deep.
I wouldn't say you have to keep it simple. I would say you have to keep an open mind. And one thing that I learned very important when you're working in cybersecurity is patience. I mean, in my initial days, early days, I had very little patience, and it was very difficult for me to work in this environment. I wouldn't say work, because back then I hadn't even started working. But yeah, as I started as I moved deeper into this field, I realized that patience is a very very important thing. When you're looking for bugs, when you're hunting for bugs, when you're hunting for 0 days, you might have to spend months finding a bug that's worth maybe $1,000. So that patience is key. You need to have that.
Patience and consistency, I think.
Patience and consistency, yes.
And so, like, what is the first language you learn to get into the cybersecurity or in programming?
So if I for people in general, if you want to work in cybersecurity, most hackers prefer Python, because that language is very simple to learn. It's very easy. Anybody can learn it. It's if you are being introduced to programming through Python, it becomes very easy for you to understand what is going on. However, for me, I started learning programming a long time back. If you're talking about like a high level language, I started learning Java when I was in class six. So that I started my programming with Java, and from 6 to 12, throughout the 6 years, it was all of it was mostly Java programming. uh, all of that. And the my teacher, where I used to take tuitions for Java, he was kind enough to teach me C plus plus side by side. So I learned that as well. So yeah, that was just a plus point for me.
Okay, that's a
I
great
kind
thing.
of I kind of forced him to teach me C plus plus. I was like, I've been doing Java for 6 years now. I want to learn another language. So he was like, fine, then you can take up C plus plus. It's very close to Java. You'll learn it in like this. So yeah, I did that.
Yeah, if you learn C++ or Java, you can learn any language.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, if you learn one, I would correct that sentence and say that if you learn one object oriented language, you can learn pretty much any other object oriented language.
so that's a great thing.
Yep.
So like apart from this cybersecurity, what are you do like what is your passion or some hobby?
Uh, Hobby, I would say photography is a very is something I'm very interested in. I have a Canon EOS 80D that I carry around with me most of the times when I'm traveling. So and I love traveling. So kind of like a combination of traveling and photography is something that I love. So last year I went to Singapore around November, and it was for work mostly. But then I got to visit, Universal Studios and Merlion and Marina Bay Sands and all that. So yeah, and I had my DSLR with me, so I did a lot of photography as well. So yeah, that's most of my hobby, traveling and photography. Yeah. And I'm a
Okay,
big foodie as well, so I like, I mean, exploring different cuisines. So yeah, that's another
yeah,
thing.
foods are great.
Yeah,
So
food is awesome, man. Yeah,
okay, so if you like food and doing some like photography, so
yeah.
did you get any award on photography? Like
Not really, because photography is something that I do recreationally. I don't do it as a kind of a like a, I mean, I don't indulge into photography contests, because for me photography is something that is supposed to help me, like uh, maybe relax, be creative, spend some time, spend some
it,
time away from the laptop, because I'm almost all the time I'm in front of my laptop. Uh, so I take photography something as an escape from all this. So I typically don't go ahead and do competitions. In the near future, when I have like better equipment for photography, I might think about it, but I'm not like sure about it. Right. At when I was in college, um, I remember this one incident. I wouldn't say it's an incident, because it happened over a long time. So I was in first year, and there it was 2013. Yeah, I was in first year, and the back then, the fourth year, they were getting a training on Android application development.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, the same.
and thanks to one of my seniors, I was allowed to attend the Android application development training, being in first year with the fourth years. So for me,
Wow.
that was a very important thing, that I am sitting beside fourth year people, writing code, making Android applications. Yeah, that was a fun. That was very fun.
So now tell me something about your final year project. Like everyone goes through
Oh,
that situation.
my final year project was boring. I didn't don't expect any special thing from me. My final year project was very simple, like a web application that I created in Spring framework. That's it. I didn't because at that point of time I was very busy with I mean, building a career on the because so what happened was, final year project, fourth year, by May, I was already employed at E&Y, Hyderabad. So I had to leave West Bengal, and I had to travel to Hyderabad. And I was staying there. I was working during my last semester of fourth year. So I had to, I mean, I wanted to do something very special for the project, but since I was already working over there, I had to manage something very simple just to just to clear out the semester. That's it.
Okay, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So, so what you suggest a beginner who will start cybersecurity, like what will from where they will start or practicing something like that? Some
Right. So if you want to work in cybersecurity, um, if you want to work in cybersecurity, first things first, have a lot of patience. Secondly, keep an open mind, and uh, you have to think out of the box, right? You have to uh, outthink or outsmart the people who write applications, who write code. That's your job. So you have to think out of the box. You have to have patience. You have to have an open mind. You have to have an eye for details. You have to be uh, very cautious about all the little details, because the devil is in the details. So that's one thing. When you come to the technical aspect of it, uh, if you want to become like a proper penetration tester, hacker slash cybersecurity person, you need to learn programming. There's no way out of it, right? If you don't understand code, if you can't read code, even if you can't write code, at least you should be able to read code. So because what happens is, you need to understand how application is written in order to be able to bypass it, right? So that is very important. Once you
yeah,
know how to write code, then uh, you need to understand how networks work, like how networking works. I would suggest getting a CCNA or a CCNP certification if possible, because that gives you a very good idea of how networking works. And third is probably how operating systems work. So if you can get a certification like a Red Hat or maybe LPIC Linux certification, that would be very good, so that you need to be able to navigate in a, I mean, if I give you a Linux terminal, open a Linux terminal in front of you, you should be able to navigate your way out of it. So once these three things are done, you are ready to start your journey for cybersecurity. These are the prerequisites. So once these prerequisites are met, you need to understand how applications are developed. So it's not just how code is written, but how applications are developed. When I say application, I mean both Android, iOS application, and web applications as such. So in general, you need to understand how applications are developed, what protocols they use to communicate, how data is flows through the application. These things are absolutely necessary. So for that, I would suggest that you go ahead and do like a internship, or maybe like a work, not a workshop, more like a training on how to write a web application using something like Spring framework, or maybe if you are a Python guy, maybe Django framework or something. You don't have to write everything from scratch in JSP servlets. You can use a framework. That's absolutely fine. But the knowledge of how web applications work is absolutely important, because when you set out to do bug bounty on HackerOne or on Bugcrowd, most of the times we will be facing web applications. You will be finding bugs in web applications. So it's very important for you to understand how web applications work before you go ahead and try to break them. Once these prerequisites are met, you can start doing bug bounties on HackerOne and Bugcrowd. Get a get burp suit, and understand how to use burp suit, because most hackers prefer burp suit when they are trying to do a web application penetration testing. And yeah, from there on, try to find bugs in websites, try to understand the data flow, try to circumvent the security, all that. There's this very good guide on how to perform web application pen testing by OWASP. OWASP is Open Web Application Security Project. If you go to the OWASP website, you'll see all the testing methodologies have been described very well in the website. How to find bugs, each and every vulnerability, each and every type of vulnerability. How do you test for them? How do you conclude, yes, this is vulnerable, yes, this is not? Everything is mentioned over there. So that would be probably how I would suggest you start.
no, that's a
Yeah.
lot of thing. and it's a great start.
Yeah,
So
I mean that is a lot of thing, but then something that I feel people need to realize is that, like I mentioned earlier, when you are working in cybersecurity, you have to have knowledge about almost anything and everything under the sun, right? So yeah, you have to know about everything, because at the end of the day, it's not like you are dealing with one single application, or you are dealing with one single server. You are dealing with an entire infrastructure of maybe 500 200 to 500 servers hosting 150 applications and database servers. So you need to know everything in order to secure all of that. Yeah.
yeah, like you are the protector of the data,
Yeah.
and you have to do it very nicely
Yep.
done. So I think that is the great about cybersecurity, that you can learn from anything and you can apply it. Like if you have a Android
Most
application,
important, yeah, most important is self learning. Most
yeah,
importantly, you have to have that mindset that nobody is going to come and teach me anything. I have to be able to learn things by myself. I mean, in our community, people are always there to help you out. They can help you understand a certain concept, but nobody is going to sit you down and give you tuitions like we take tuitions for data structure or something, right? That's not going to happen. So you have to be prepared to learn things by yourself.
okay,
Yeah.
that's a great advice, I
Yeah.
think, and most of us need to implement in our life, because
Yep.
apart from the cybersecurity, self learning is give you a edge in your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, so like everyone has some inspired people, like from whom we can get inspiration. So
Right.
who is the inspiration in the field of cybersecurity, like?
So I have a mentor. Uh, my mentor works at Apple. He's a red team leader at Apple, and he's in charge of the Asia Pacific retail security for Apple Incorporated. But previously, I mean, I know him for more than 4 years now. Um, Most of the things that I have learned, a lot of them, I mean, I wouldn't say he has taught me things as such, but uh, I mean, of course, he has taught me certain things, but what the most important thing that he gave me is exposure. He gave me exposure to a lot of technologies. So, yeah, I think probably he's the one I got inspired from. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. It
that's
helps. It helps to have a mentor. It always does
yeah,
help to have a mentor.
because a mentor can guide you, because they have
Yep.
the experience from previous tasks. So like cybersecurity is the thing, and currently we have the like machine learning. So
Yep.
how you, so like now I see some like they are going to password cracking using machine learning, some paper I
Ah,
think
right.
I,
Yeah. Yep.
so like what is the future of like a more like machine learning and cybersecurity both got mixed and create a new field, or I think
Yeah,
already.
so something that we were working on in Paya 2 previously. So I have a colleague in Paya 2 who works on AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning security. So we have used artificial intelligence and machine learning to create tools for social engineering attacks. For example, the tool that we created, it would fetch the data from a person's social media presence. For example, the tool would fetch all the Facebook posts that person has made, the Twitter tweets that person has made, and based on, I mean, it would parse through all that data, and based on what kind of content that person is sharing, the tool would create a phishing email for that particular user. So something that we used, and the tool was around 60 to 70% efficient. So it was we were able to achieve quite a good deal of efficiency with that tool. Other than that, something else that I worked on was, I didn't work on it personally, but something that my colleague worked on was AI and ML is something that is being actively used in a lot of applications, in a lot of systems these days. So what we came up with was a way to feed certain data to the artificial intelligence in a way that we would be able to compromise the machine or maybe get data out of the machine. So, how artificial intelligence and ML systems work is basically they collect data, they interpret the data, and from that data they try to understand the pattern, and then from there they try to learn. So what we did was we tried to feed such a pattern to the application so that we were able to maybe compromise some data from it, maybe make that machine leak sensitive data to us. So that's something I didn't do it myself, but yeah, a colleague of us tried. So um, when you talk about artificial intelligence mixing with cybersecurity, I think in the coming days we will be working on securing artificial intelligence systems so that um, uh, data pollution attacks can be mitigated. I think that's what I can see for the time being, but otherwise, yeah, artificial intelligence is having a huge footprint on the IT world. So it's here to stay. It's here to stay for some time,
Yeah,
for a long time.
because it's a great technology and
Yeah,
also inspiration for some of us. And can you tell, like, there are, I think there are two way, like, Android app, because there are a lot of users who uses Android phones,
yeah,
and some, like, a lot of users on web, like
yeah,
like us, like who uses laptop, desktop, they are
yeah,
mostly
yeah.
uses the websites. So
Mhm.
how you how you think that a guy who will choose from these two paths, like these two are the main paths.
Yeah, so why do you feel that you have to choose between the two? You can learn
Or
both of them, right?
yeah,
You don't have to choose. You can, if you are good at Java, you can. I mean, mostly Android used to be written in Java. Now it's been changed to Kotlin, but Kotlin is not that different from Java after all. So you can learn that, and on the other hand, you can write web applications using Spring framework. So you just need to have a good grasp on Java's collection framework, and you're good to go.
yeah, I think that's great, because now if we have one language in our in us, and we can do it, both of these things.
It's not that big of a deal. I mean, you just need to if you already know Java, you can find your way around Kotlin. So just get Android Studio, start writing a Scratch application, and from there on you can go.
So
And I think the most important thing is that you have Stack Overflow. So
yeah,
whatever,
like,
I mean, that's the advantage people did not have earlier, right? If
yeah,
you, now everybody has Stack Overflow, so whatever questions you have, somebody has already answered it on Stack Overflow. You don't need to worry about it.
because that's the heaven of the programmers, and
That's pretty much,
everyone
yeah. And
everyone
I can guarantee you, most people I know, they copy and paste things from Stack Overflow. So
but
that's,
you need to do it
you
intelligently.
need to do it consciously. Yes, you need to be conscious about what you're copying and pasting. You can't simply copy and paste variable names as it is and then expect your code to work, right? If you're that dumb, go home. This is not for you.
Okay, so now in this COVID situation, like,
Yeah.
everyone goes to the online. So
Yep.
what you suggest to give some security advice, like how they can protect themselves? Like, there are many people who are not aware of their security from mobile phones, or like they just put the
Right.
links. They got some spam email, they click it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
So what I would suggest is when you talk about spam emails, Google actively filters out spam emails these days. So if you're using something like Gmail, you'll see that only the important mail comes into your inbox, right? All the advertisements and all that goes into promotions box, and all updates goes into update box. Social things go into social box. So if you're trying to, I mean, if you're attempting phishing email, and if you are not already in contact with that person, so most probably it's going to end up in the spam folder. So but still, if you are dumb enough to click open a spam email, uh, something that I think probably a very simple logic that people need to understand is, you get these emails where they say ki, um, some XYZ company has, I mean, you have won the lottery and some XYZ
Yeah,
company is
yeah.
paying you
Like
fifty
you
thousand
got
dollars
you got fifty
yeah, or
thousand.
$500,000 or something like that. So something people need to understand is no company in the world is going to randomly give you $500,000 like that. So be a little conscious about what the message says. If the message claims that you have won XYZ amount of money and you just need to click on this to transfer the funds to your account, it's 100%. I mean, I'm sure that that's going to be a phishing email, because the way the world works, no company in the world is going to give you 500,000 USD for free like that. That's not gonna happen at all. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
that's the
just
simple
be a
logic.
little cautious about. I mean, if you, in simple words, if you feel like that this company is making, or this email is making claims that are too good to be true, it's it's possible. I mean, it's pretty much certain that it's too good to be true.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good advice.
yeah,
So
that's a good
now,
advice.
I think every video conferencing app has the better security than previous, because
Okay.
in like previous, we heard about the Zoom, like
We heard about the Zoom fiasco. Yes, yeah,
so like
and I still know people who are still using Zoom.
yes,
I kind of try to avoid Zoom unless my clients ask me to include it I mean,
yes,
explicitly.
because
But
most
otherwise, I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah.
of the US peoples are like they are users Zoom, they don't use Meet, Google Meet much, I think.
So the problem with Zoom is that, from what I understand, a lot of the traffic, Zoom traffic, was being, a lot of the Zoom traffic was being routed through servers in China, and by law in China, you have to hand over your public and private keys that are generated in your server to the government. So what happens is, it is possible for the Chinese government to spy on your Zoom conversations if they want you to. So once I realized that this is what's been happening, they were routing all the data through China. I personally stopped using Zoom unless and until it's like absolutely necessary. I mean, there's no other way to do this other than Zoom. So yeah,
Yeah, because we have some good mean like Google Meet
yeah.
and Geo Meet.
I would much rather prefer Google Meet over Zoom any day.
Yeah, that's a great choice. So
Yeah.
like I heard about that you wrote a book, or you some have contribution some book
Yeah.
on pen
So
testing.
yeah, yeah. So the book is called Hands-on AWS Penetration Testing. Um, it's the world's first book that focuses on performing penetration testing on a cloud environment such as AWS. And I'm not a co-author of the book. I am a contributor. I am a major contributor. I have contributed somewhere around 6 to 7 chapters to that book, and yeah, I've been acknowledged as a major contributor to that book as well. So the book mostly focuses on what are the potential misconfigurations that can lead to a data leak on AWS, because a few years ago, around 2017 or 18, there was this huge data breach for Accenture, and that happened because some guy left the AWS buckets publicly open. So it was very easy for the attackers to just simply bucket dump and get the data from that AWS configuration. And since then, people after that, after Accenture got hit, people started talking about cloud security and how it is important to secure your cloud, because Amazon's cloud has this concept of shared responsibility when it comes to security. So Amazon guarantees you security of the physical device itself, the servers that they have in the data center. However, whatever server or application that you are spinning up on the AWS cloud, that has to be the security of that is the owner's responsibility, the person who is spinning that up. So this is called a shared security model, and people did not realize this until it was too late. Even though Amazon explicitly says that security on AWS is a shared security model. So yeah, so we decided to come up with a book that focuses on these attack vectors, how AWS can be attacked, and how to secure it as well.
Wow,
Yep.
that's a good book, I think,
Yep.
for the penetration tester and also the cloud, who uses cloud a lot,
Yep.
like the VM.
For the DevOps and DevSecOps people as well, because they are most of the time they are either working on Azure or AWS.
Because they uses it as their primary, like they
Yeah.
create virtual machines and do some
So
stuff.
nobody has nobody. I mean, some people still have on-premise machines. Some people still like to hire data centers, but lot of them have already migrated to AWS or Azure. Maybe AWS is like has the highest market share, I believe, and then second on the second spot is Azure. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a pretty huge opportunity for attackers to steal your data if you're not careful.
so like we need to careful about our data, how we put it, and like
You need to be
two-factor.
careful about what kind of data you want to be made public, and yeah.
Like we in the Android phones, we give a lot of permission to the one app and download some mod app
Yeah.
for free. I think that's a potential threat, because you.
That I mean, I personally don't use an Android phone. I am a Apple. I mean, I'm an Apple user. I'm an
Yeah.
iPhone user. So yeah, but then Android security architecture is such that uh, the sandboxes are not secured properly, so it's possible for one app to fetch data from another app. So yeah, that's slightly dicey situation over there. Yeah.
Okay. I think iOS ecosystem is better than Android. So can you tell why?
Yeah, so basically, when it comes to iOS, the major difference between iOS and Android is that all your Android apps run on the Java virtual machine. So the apps are not, I mean, they are not natively written, right? They are written on either in Java or in Kotlin, and they run on a virtual machine. So that itself is I mean, is a big security no-no for us. On the other hand, on iOS, there is no virtual machine in between. It's every single app is run natively. Um, Secondly, the most important part of the security when it comes to Android and iOS that I really love about it is that in iOS, each and every app has its own sandbox. So if you are I mean if you are storing data in application A, whatever data is stored in application A cannot be accessed by application B. Okay, so application B has to request the data from application A, and then that's how you will get the data. You don't have access direct to the sandbox. However, on Android, the situation is a little different. Even though there are sandboxes, uh, applications can. I mean, it is possible for them to access data under certain circumstances from other application sandbox. So I will give you an example of that. So uh, you use WhatsApp on a daily basis, right?
Yes, yes.
And if you send a picture or a video to one of your friends, if
It
you
is.
delete it for everyone, it gets deleted for both you and that the friend you send it
Yeah.
to.
Delete for
and if
everyone.
and if your friend goes to the gallery and checks that, he will see that the photo has disappeared because you have deleted it. The same is not possible on iPhone. So if you send me a photo on iPhone and I download it and you delete it for both of us, although that photo will be deleted from my chat, it won't be deleted from my gallery.
Like a
That's
copy.
because that's because WhatsApp is not allowed to access the gallery sandbox. So WhatsApp can request data from the gallery, but it can't actively access and remove data from the gallery sandbox, which is that is something of a security that is not available on an Android device.
So that's the unique about iOS, I think,
Yep.
and
So
Mac.
overall, in terms of data security, iOS beats Android hands down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome and hard to see, but
You
because
can do the next you can do the experiment, and you can see the results if you want.
okay, okay, I will do the experiment.
Yep.
And basically, I think that's pretty much for today.
Yep.
So, like, if you like, can you give some advice, like the future about the cybersecurity who comes in this field, and
Right. Um, just to let you know, currently in the field of cybersecurity, we have a lot of work. I mean, the workload is huge, and we don't have enough good people. We don't have enough good people for who can share the workload with us. So we are looking for good people. When I say good people, I mean if you currently look at the IT landscape, you'll see that there are a lot of people who do bug bounties. There are a lot of people who find bugs in HackerOne and BugCrowd. But what you have to understand is that being good at one thing is not going to get you very far in this career. You have to be multitasking. You have to have number of skill sets. You have to keep yourself open to learning new things. So for example, instead of just being a bug bounty hunter, you can side by side you can learn how to do cloud security, how to do mobile app security, how to do DevSecOps, how to do reverse engineering, how to do secure code reviewing. So when you have a number of skill sets, that's when you become a desirable person in cybersecurity. And we need those kind of people right now. We need people who have multiple skill sets and who can engage in a team and be active and brainstorm and create new ideas. So yeah, we are looking for people. It's not just talking about Honeywell, but talking about cybersecurity firms in general. They are looking for good people. So the potential is huge. It's one of the hottest topics right now. It's one of the most sought after career. Not I won't say sought after career, but it's one of the most demanding careers right now. If you're up to the mark, you can do good for yourself in this career.
okay, I think cybersecurity has a good potential to give you a chance, and you
Yeah,
can get a good future from it, and
absolutely.
you can secure a good position, like
Yeah.
an cybersecurity researcher, or like this thing.
Yeah, sure. You can. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's pretty much thing for today.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank
Yeah,
you
it was
very much.
nice talking to you. It was, I mean, I hope that this reaches a lot of people and they find it useful,
Yes,
so that they can guide themselves as well. Yeah.
yeah. I think it will help for many people like us, because like
Yep.
me or something, because there are some people who don't have the access to a laptop. They have only a
Right.
smartphone, but they
Yeah.
want to go to the cybersecurity, because I feel this pain, because I in previous 2 years ago I don't have a laptop or desktop,
Mhm.
something like this. I only have a smartphone, but
Yep.
randomly I started to mm, keep exploring the field
Yep.
of the IT, and then I don't have the much knowledge about the cybersecurity. But
Right.
in field, like I got the Android smartphone at 12. So
Mhm.
I exploring, just keep exploring. Then I got an option like called Tarmax. So
Right.
this
Termux.
tar,
Yep.
Tarmax give me the ability to, like, I don't know about the Linux or the Linux
Right.
terminal, but in behind this terminal, like this Tarmax helps me a lot about the, like, how to give a command, how to manipulate
Right.
things, and
So something that I would add to this is that when you're trying to build a career in IT in general, not just cybersecurity, if you are trying to build an IT in general, you must have some kind of a computing device at your home, be it a laptop, be it a desktop. you can't uh, you can't learn things without, I mean, you can't be good at computers without having a computer first, right? So
Yeah,
something that we need to understand is that one must be ready to invest money into this career if you want to excel at it. There are a lot of courses out there. There are a lot of certifications out there. Try to do certifications. You have certifications like OSCP, GXPN, and all that. Sorry, GPEN and OSCP and GPEN and OSWE and all that. Try to do certifications. Try to invest in yourself. It will be costly, but you will get your returns once you have once you start start working, start rolling. You'll get your investments back, but you must be ready to invest money, a lot of money into this.
yeah. Like you just need to some like the potential to learning a thing, new thing, and self learning. Then you can
Yeah,
learn it in your own way. So
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the thing about IT and cybersecurity in general whole. Okay,
That is true.
yeah. So with this good vibe, I will end today's session, I think.
All right.
So
Yep.
okay, so bye for now.
Bye.
Bye
See
bye.
ya. Take care of
Yeah.
yourself.
Okay. Take care of yourself. So okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. I stop the recording. Okay. Hmm.